When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home. I wish I was back there with things I've been knowing. Familiar with this song by Miss Diana Ross? If not, at least I'm sure you're familiar with the message. Home is where love is. It is true. Love makes a house a home. It is the love experienced in the home that makes us excited to always come back to it. Home always has a space in our hearts, for it is where everything in life begins to bloom. This must also be true in the experience of Jesus. Because he was away from home doing his Father's will, he must have been very excited to be home again and see familiar faces. He must have expected a warm welcome, at least from his kinsmen. Sadly, nothing of that sort happened to Jesus. The reception was cold, indifferent. There was no hospitality, only hostility. What happened? Jesus must have asked himself if he did something awful that elicited shame and anger, that prompted people to bombard him with questions that maligned him and his credibility. Even if they knew he was an extraordinary man, capable of extraordinary deeds, they doubted him. What happened? They lacked faith. And Jesus bluntly told them that their lack of faith renders him incapable of doing anything for them. Jesus loves them, for sure, but people need to believe and to trust in that love before anything remarkable can happen. That's the requirement. Their lack of faith was the reason for their lack of hospitality. Hospitality is a great act of charity. While we always hear that charity begins at home, it may not be true all the time. Jesus was truly one with us, as he too experienced it. The prophet Ezekiel in the first reading, as well as the Apostle Paul in the second reading, both had a share of indifference from people they served. Ezekiel was given the thankless job of carrying God's message to a people he knew would not listen to him anyway. Reading that book, anyone comes out with the impression that the prophet's disappointment showed an inverse proportion to his love for his countrymen. The greater the love he felt for them, the deeper his dismay because of their rebellious attitude. The Apostle Paul also suffered great disappointment from the Corinthians' lack of faith. At the fickleness of their loyalty to him, despite his having founded their Christian community, there is no lack of persons who, by duty of office or responsibility of their calling, have a genuine desire to teach others the proper way for self-improvement and to assist their fellow men in their various needs. They are the de facto prophets in our communities. It is unfortunate that this kind of treatment still exists today. Sometimes we meet people who do not appreciate the goodness that we do, and they can be the people who are closest to us in affinity. That could be more hurtful, but we should never be discouraged to continue our good works. People will always be there to challenge us. But let us be inspired for those who persist in doing good works without expecting any consolation whatsoever. To the modern prophets in our communities, Let not the rebelliousness and negativism of family and friends discourage them from continuing a God-given task of bringing to the world a message of hope and a gift of healing. The examples of Jesus, Paul, and Ezekiel should be a source of inspiration, courage, and strength to persevere in doing good works for others and to proclaim the good news in season and out of season. They may not be appreciated for now, but good works are never a waste of effort. They will always find a way to take effect even without us noticing them. And to the born critics in our communities, let them not imitate the rebellious people of Israel, the mediocrity of those from Nazareth, or the disloyalty of the Corinthians. Unbelief and mediocrity will just be feeding one another and will perpetuate the miserable state it puts people in. Let's continue the mission of Jesus entrusted to us, and let Him alone be our inspiration and strength. He who began the good work in us will carry it to completion. Just trust Him.